what's the story? How did it all start? You're the managing director and the founder of Supasac. What is Supasac and why Supasac?
If you don't learn the business in here, then there's nothing we can do because we're not running a charity over here, right?
Give them some sort of guidance that clears their pathway, and they are only able to do so because they're not emotionally invested in the relationship.
You said that, hey, why don't I just throw in the towel, give up and just walk out?
Realizing that you were sitting on a gold mine in Hyderabad.
We've not got a replacement and my factory is running better without a factory manager. Awesome. So this is going to take a while, but I think that's fine. So about 12 years back, right? So starting with where the entrepreneurial journey started from. So my cultural background is Sindhi. And the Sindhi community by default has always been an entrepreneurial family, right? An entrepreneurial culture. So ever since when I was born, ever since we all the dinner table conversations would always be reflecting around business. So that kind of just naturally comes to you. You're growing, listening to all of this. That's where the business course, traveling all the way to Malaysia to go study and understand how business could be done on a global level, right? Compared to where we're at right now. So 12 years back, so for the past 27 years, we've been into IT, computer peripherals, distribution to corporate companies. So by default, these companies, we were supplying anything from like a pen drive to a hard disk to laptops, headphones. We were supplying these to these companies. So we were supplying one bag to this one company about 14 years back, right? And that brand was always delaying on their supply. This is in the magnitude of about 25,000 units year on year. They want this order, like that's the number of employees that they're hiring every year. So that's the scale of the number of bags that they were buying. And this brand, which was pre-approved, they were always late on the supply. It was always very slow. And the company starts getting fed up after a certain point, right? So they called us onto the table and they told us, listen, we love your service. We're extremely unhappy with them. And we'll do one thing. You guys start manufacturing bags and we're here to support you. By we're here to support you, what they said was, if y'all differ on the quality, we will reject your lot. But for a year, we will not change suppliers. We let you learn, take your learning curve. And if you don't learn the business in here, then there's nothing we can do because we're not running a charity over here, right? So that was one golden opportunity which actually shifted us from traders to manufacturers. And that what started 12 years ago was crazy. So like that time the business, we went for the sales. So flew down to China. The first approach that we have. And 12 years ago, there was a lot more of a language barrier, Abdul. It's not like it is today where you have your apps and your translators and everything so easily available. So of course while the magnitude of what we were trying to buy was kind of high, there was still like for an import, it wasn't like the largest magnitude, right? So when we went and maybe we didn't get the access to the right factories, we were still scrambling, trying to figure out what's the right approach to all of this. Spent a week, got some samples. They did not like the finishing, the quality. Then within India, so I live in a city called Hyderabad, right? So I travel to multiple other cities, manufacturing cities. Like I went to Delhi, I went to Bangalore, I went to Bombay, and kept making trial lots. So for me, assume this, 12 years back, a backpack that we were working with costed around $10 to $12, right? For ease of math, US dollars. So even if I'm doing a trial lot of 100 bags, that's like $1,000, $1,200 just thrown in the side per lot. So that kind of starts pinching when you're just learning the business and you're like just trying to get in and you're like, oh my God, like, okay, $1,200, leave this on the side, get the next lot. So we tried this about 4, 5 times. And then finally, by then we understood like this was the whole learning phase of where we were at. And then there was this one guy in Hyderabad who just had two machines. And now typically that goes up to saying that he will manufacture about 5 to 10 bags a day. Like these are the high quality premium ones, right? They take up a lot of time and they're not going to be that efficient to do those bags. And that so he said, we've tried all over the world. We've gone all the way to China. You're from Hyderabad, from the same city we are in. Let's give this guy a chance. Let's make some samples. And the company approves the samples. We're like, damn, now we're on the right track.
Whoa.
So there were two brothers over there as well, right? So those two brothers, we said, hey, listen, I think you guys are onto something. So we invested in about 4 machines. We got them 4 machines. We told them, you guys start get in more people. You all are on the right track. And we got our first lot of 200 bags sent. And what started about 12, 13 years ago with 20,000 bags for one company. I think last financial year, we closed on 200,000 bags in that financial year. And
Wow.
now we're on track to doing about 250,000 this year.
What, 250,000? That is a
Units.
big
Yeah.
number, especially
Yeah.
for high quality premium bags.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that we're talking about when we say make in India, and we want to like take that whole initiative. And so we've not like really explored on the international export approach. Like India itself is such a huge market. The premiumization of products that are taking place today is so good. Like people definitely want to move. Like bargain buys will always exist, but I think when people want to talk about from the quality perspective, the market is definitely ready over there.
It's crazy, Pranav, because one question that just bounces back and forth while you were talking, how
Yeah.
was the experience like realizing that you were sitting on a gold mine in Hyderabad
Yeah.
and you still managed to go all the way to China, around the world, see how things are
Yeah.
going with the whole translations and what have you, right? How what did that
Absolutely.
teach you?
Honestly, it taught me so much. I think it was required for me to go burn my hands a couple of times because I think from like say I did find the artisans, right? The artisans that are stitching the bags. While I found them over here, what it really gave me the exposure of was what the international market is selling at. What is the value add that they're doing, how systematic they are with their approach. And then it comes down to the little things, right? So you have the fabric of the bag, you have the accessories, you have the lining. So there are about 19 components that go into making the bags, right? So if you talk about the zips, the zip pullers, the foam that goes on the inside, the thread quality, then you go into the depths of stitching, right? So you say right from in 1 square inch, how many stitches are supposed to repeat? So once you start understanding it on that level, you start understanding that, hey, I would have only learned all of that once I started, understanding what's happening at a global level. So then I found my fabric suppliers. So out of the 19 components, 18 of them we're sourcing in India. There's one component which we are not able to find in India, so we end up importing those, but from Taiwan or China or Korea. But it did teach us so much about what quality standards we're actually supposed to work towards. What are people actually looking for today? And how do you stand differently from what's locally available? I think at that time as well, when I met these guys in Hyderabad, the biggest advantage that I had was I had a part of my supply chain really set up, where I knew that, hey, after traveling so much, that this fabric is where that likes, and this supplier is sitting in that city in India. And then this is the foam where I can find, you find components which are locally available. You find, so predominantly from the bag manufacturing up, Hyderabad was never on the charts, right? Like saying that, hey, we have so many such factories that you just put one more there. And like when that happens, then your supply chain is by default taken care of, right?
Right.
So we had to like reinvent the wheel, always keep a little bit of spares in extra in our inventory ready, so that if something just runs out last minute, we know we have some backup to use as well.
So Pranav, this is amazing because I'm assuming now, or I'm trying to visualize from a viewer point of view.
Correct.
Assume we're having a couple of fresh graduates watching the series now or watching this podcast,
Correct.
or people who are mid-career and they're like, hey, I'm motivated and I have an idea and I want to kickstart this off. I want you to take me a step back before
Okay.
Supasac came to life, right? You know how a
Okay.
lot of people would always throw in the towel early on and say, I don't have enough money. You were just saying it clearly at yourself, and I want to thank you for sharing that. Just for you to try out a lot and see whether it goes upon the quality manual or the quality
Correct.
standard that they need.
Correct.
You had to burn at least $1,200 per lot. And
A
God knows
lot.
how many, yeah, and God knows how many iterations you had to go through just to get
Yeah.
to that quality level.
Correct.
How did you manage to get the funding early on as a fresh
Yeah.
graduate from you?
So predominantly, one is from the funding standpoint, right? But I'll talk a little more on the part where you said that, hey, why don't I just throw in the towel, give up, and just walk out?
Yeah.
So the one like topic that I normally discuss with a lot of my own colleagues and everywhere is that I'll tell you today also, as we speak right now, a month ago my dad's about to throw in the towel into this whole experience right now, because he says we just like, so we tripled our factory capacity last year. We went from doing about 80,000 to 250,000 units. So when we had to triple the factory capacity, I jumped with this initiative, and now it gets so difficult because there's a cash crunch everywhere. The moment we bought the factory, the war hits in globally. My raw material pricing shot up by 40%, right? And he's like, "What the hell are we doing over here? Why is this happening?" And then when the prices go up with raw material, there is a very natural instinct that the market slows down, right? People don't want to invest. So my product will be, let's say, I supply most of it to corporate companies where this is for employee appreciation programs. So their budgets don't double just because there's a war going on. So, there will always be challenges, but there is only one thing which I believe so strongly in, which is if there is a product and you're actually really solving a real time issue, right? So if there is no issue that your product, whatever it may be, when I say product, it could be a service, right? What is the real time issue that your product is solving? Number one. And number two being, what is the value of that issue to your target audience?
Hmm,
So, for example,
that's
I
profound.
am making high quality bags for corporate companies. Am I going to give them such a problem solving? Is that a big problem for them? Number one. Number two, is that what is my edge over my competitor? Right. And once I figure out what my edge over my competitors are, that makes life so much simpler, because in today's day and age, which is not there 12 years back, there are people sitting with money. Okay. Let's be real. And if you can actually make that pitch deck. So to give you an idea of how this works, even though we wanted to do this, I made a pitch deck first for myself, then to go pitch it to my folks to tell them, hey, this is what I'm proposing that we do. Right? Because at the end of the day, you have to make these pitch decks for the bank. So you're regardless making pitch decks, whether you're running a family run business, you're running in a corporate company, you're running a multinational business over 20 like countries, make the pitch deck first. Convince yourself that the problem that you're trying to solve is so real that
Wow.
automatically things start finding their own route, because there will be hurdles. There will be sleepless nights. You'll be like, damn, I've put my, now I'm neck deep. I can't jump out, right? There's no way. I'm in quicksand. I'm dipping every day. When we launched the new factory and my overhead expenses without doing anything. So where I was talking about $1,000 per lot, I'm talking now that I'm spending $1,500 a day in overhead expenses.
Wow.
And if I don't break even, I don't hit those numbers, then what do I do? I still have to pay my people. I still have to pay the bank the interest. Whether it's the first of the month, I'm still there. I'm saying, hey, here, the money's automatically done. Like, you start diverting assets to just feed off all the other businesses, start pumping everything into this one entity because the baby is growing. Even in a business that was running for 10 years, when we looked at expansion, we did bleed for a year, right? And then you realize that, hey, okay, this is the challenges that are going to come up regardless of what you do, however well planned. So, like when you're looking at expansion, for example, there are two ways. One is you wing it, which was the worst decision which we did. Second is you sit on heaps of contracts that say, okay, I have this contract, I will jump. But then what would have happened was when you make those jumps, those calculated risks, then you know that you're taking the easier route. But over here, we set the base and said contracts will walk in. Let's just jump.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And okay, so you're speaking from your father's point of view, and like you're the anchor that, hey, this
Yeah,
is gonna work, this is gonna do it, and this is gonna
yeah.
cut it. Has there been a moment where you felt this is way too overwhelming? Maybe my dad's right.
Absolutely. But then I wake up with that every morning, but I couldn't let him live with that, hey, he was right. So it just makes you
Right.
keep running forward, right? I think by default, it always gives you that in life that part comes by every day, man. Like sometimes I wake up in the morning also. I'm like, should I sometimes feel like I work too hard? I got married a year back. My wife also tells me, she's like, "Just cut it out. Let's just go for a holiday." I'd be like, just wait, one more big break is coming. Once I get that big break, we go on a holiday. So that keeps happening throughout. But once that's what I'm telling you. Like which I was coming back to. If you have that one document where you say, this is my target audience, this is my edge over my competitors. And once I can pitch this, I know for a fact I'm actually solving that real time problem. Trust me on this. Every time you have that low days, which you always have, everyone goes through low times, right? No business is going, woo, I'm seeing 100% extra profit. Very good. I'm going growth. It's never going to happen like that. It's always going to be a nice wavy pattern where you get all your energy and strength for the lows, and then you use all of that to take it up to the highs, and you keep working towards it. So as long as you have it does take will, but more than that, it's once you start seeing what your life will be when you achieve the highs and you grow through it, that's more than enough motivation to do it, right? That is if you want to do that. You get where I'm
Got it.
coming from.
This
So
is this is getting
motivation.
it's like this is getting really interesting because you walk me through the process from the get-go, right?
Yeah,
And from how you travel to China, which is what
you're right.
most people would do, big the big powerhouse of manufacturing in the world, right? The
Absolutely.
biggest and the most cost effective as well. The question is, you walk me through the procurement side of things.
Okay.
The lining, like I'm using your terms now, the
Yes,
lining,
yes.
the zipper, da, 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 da. To me, a bag is a bag. I'm not really focused or concerned about the 19-ish components. But yeah, once again,
Yeah.
you're the man. So the question is, what other areas in that business or in that line of business happen to be the most challenging?
Okay. So I'll start with the procurement of the raw material part, then I'll come to the most challenging part, right?
All right.
So one is it is like, for example, biryani, right? For
Yeah.
example.
Oh, of
Of
course.
course. Of course, right? So when you're making like biryani, every little ingredient is going to change the flavor of the whole meal that you're trying to prepare, right? So if I'm making the bag, and which I was saying about, like, the 19 components to doing it, sometimes a small change can actually reduce the feel and the quality of it, right? So when I, like, for what we do, for example, Abdul, is we say I'm giving you a 13 months. So we say we supply to corporate companies, they take about a month to distribute their bags or however. So instead of giving 12, I say I take 1 month extra and I give 13 months, no questions asked, replacement on any bag. Even if the employee says, hey, I'm not happy with it for any reason, from the quality and the manufacturing defect standpoint, we exchange it at a factory level, whether it's gone through any of my dealers or however. So that's the extent of where we are confident on what we're doing. Now, to achieve that, we have to cross test. And I am the worst QC manager that my factory can get. Because I'm there ripping these bags for no reason, just trying to tell them that, hey, he's like, sir, who is going to use this bag so roughly? And I'm like, we don't want even that one employee. So we launched something, with making sure that every raw material that we source has a consistent supply chain, right? So we never worked on like part lots. So when you're trying to like source these products, you have to make sure that, hey, what I'm supplying today, will I get the exact same quality 3 months down the line? Will I
Mm-hmm.
get it 6 months down the line? And then you speak to the factories and you tell them, hey, I'm looking at a production of this model of, let's say I'm talking about just the webbing, the tapes that go onto the bag, which you adjust your shoulder straps from. What I'm buying from you now, I'm looking at continuing this for the next maybe 24 months, right? So will you help me with not increasing price, maintaining quality for at least 12 months? Right, until something drastic comes up. So then we go talk to them and we tell them that, hey, then step two, my monthly consumption is going to be this much. Before I place order with you, do you think you can keep a little bit of ready stock for me in contingency always?
Mm.
So that makes the whole supply chain become a little more easier once you start looking at projections, you start giving them. Because for any factory that is working out there, right? Okay, so when we were talking about the whole valuation part, so this is one more which investors look at today, which is something known as ARR, which is annual recurring revenue. The max, how much of an annual recurring revenue that you have, even if it's say 30% of your business, these guys are so happy to invest in that because they know there is a guaranteed amount of revenue and profit that could come out of that. So the
Mm.
higher your ARR is, that is where you start actually making money in business today. The amount of your, because marketing is very simple. You keep investing in marketing, you keep getting new leads, you keep generating on all of that. So that by default becomes your hold along, which you give ahead to the factories, telling them that, hey, I will not keep hunting for new suppliers once I find you, and I'm happy to work with you. You just make sure that you give me the consistent quality that I require. Give me like, if I'm ordering, let's say, 1,000 units of that product, make 1,200 maybe and keep 200 with you for my contingency, because I may require 800, I'm buying 200. And that's where the supply chain, you create a nice niche so that when I get a jump of orders, suddenly I do have a part of my supply chain already ready with raw material. Now coming to the most important part which you said, the challenge and the most challenging part is managing people. So let's say my factory has
Yeah.
150 people working today. To manage 150 labor to get your quality, the consistency, and make sure that they don't differ, that's a much larger challenge.
Mm.
Making sure that they turn up. So by default, so what we use is a line system of production, right? So it goes task by task. We don't give one person and say, hey, make 5 bags and come back to me by the end of the day, because these bags have, let's say, 100 processes. So one employee is trained on 3 to 4 processes, and he's doing that for 500 numbers, 600 numbers in a day. So by default, when he's doing that, if that one employee, he or she, doesn't turn up that day, then how do I replace someone else to do this employee's processes? Otherwise, the whole chain process stops. So
Mhm.
managing people, iteration of how we have consistent workers in the factory, where we're consistently able to feed them, that the manufacturing process becomes a huge supply chain. So what we did predominantly was, basically our industry is a little more dominant with men manufacturing bags, right? So because it's not as brittle or like easy as t-shirts or garments. So what we did was we actually hired women in the local village close by, paid them money, got them onto a training program for 2 months, trained them at our factory, and empower these women who normally wouldn't get jobs to learn how to make bags. And of course, if 100 trained, we created like this whole exam sheet so that we understand their whole consistency of what they're doing and if they're capable enough to join our production lines, and then converted them onto our production line. So we have about, I'm proud to say, about like 60 to 70 women working in the factory right now who've trained, no idea about bag manufacturing, zero, and they've gone through the program and they've
It's like
really
you're
learned
teaching
how to
them a
make.
language. That's so cool. Like you're teaching them a language from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Wow. And personally, it makes a lot of sense. It's always the human capital that's the most rewarding and it's the most complicated. It's just the
Absolutely.
double-edged sword all the time in all businesses, really.
Yeah.
And it comes without any surprise that it also happens in your case. 150 people, that's a whopping number. That's a humongous number. How many people did you start with?
Two. We started with two.
Wow, were you suing yourself?
No.
Oh my god.
those those two brothers which I told you about, the story with, while we were when we started manufacturing. So in the first year, I think we were less than 10. And then I think we were about at 10, 12 for about 4 years straight, right? One contract, just fulfilling that, not doing anything else. So I think for about 4 years, we did 20,000 bags year on year. Then on the fifth year, we added in and we took it up to 35,000 numbers. And then I think year 7 was a big jump for us, where then we doubled from there and we took it up to 80,000 numbers per year. So I think we had about 45, 50 people working at that time in the factory. Yeah. So, and then we were at a different premises. We were, still understanding the trade. It took us so it's a huge learning curve that you normally see where, you want to understand where your market's actually heading towards. But finally, then we decided to take one jump when we realized that, hey, we kind of know what we're doing right now.
That's great. And
Yeah.
this takes me to a very nice segue because you know how when you're a founder, you're starting something from scratch. You have this amazing analogy, and I use it quite frequently as well. It's like you just gave birth to a baby, right? And that
Correct.
baby whines, they need preparation, they need care, they need you to listen to them, they want, and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. You get it's a baby, really. And
Correct.
when you start this off, it's usually a big plan. It's usually a big affirmation to yourself that you want to reach to some sort of place that you deem successful or you deem irreplaceable, right? When you first started, Pranav, what were your expectations and how are they today?
Yeah. So when I first started, of course, everybody dreams, that I want to drive fancy cars and all. I've not yet reached all of that yet. But there is one thing, right? As I was telling you, every small win gives you the amount of confidence that lets you take one step ahead. So this is really funny, but I want to show you this. My WhatsApp status and my WhatsApp story has not changed in 8 years. And that status that says one step at a time.
Right, right.
So by default, you start seeing little wins. The only thing that I'm going to tell you up till today is enjoy the little wins. Otherwise, everyone says, it's about reaching that goal. I say, once you start enjoying the journey, every small win becomes such a big victory for you that you're like, yes, now I'm going to grow. I'm going to go take it to the next. Because after a point, otherwise you're stuck in a loop, right? It's every day
Mm,
the same thing. So what I've done to keep things interesting for me is I've kept the sales in my hand. So that every time, like a lot of the sales, right? So while I do have a couple of sales guys, the big contracts, I'm handling them personally because that's what the buyer ahead wants. He wants to see how the entrepreneur is vested into the business and is he able to actually understand my issues. So when I'm going and I'm sitting across the meeting and I actually close that sale, I'm like, today's work is done. Today's work
uh-huh.
is good. I've done one part of what I had to. And then I would go to the factory, create the samples and all of that. But um, so what I've understood so I've done a couple of business courses, met a lot of like business coaches, understood from them, had a consultant on board for about 6 months. When we took this whole jump to streamline things, we were lost out of everywhere. So we got one consultant to say, hey, guide us on what's supposed to be done. And the most important part of what I've understood is you can try the whole part of automating business processes today, right? You have AI coming in and with trying to like merge everything together. You can automate a lot of the back end work, but what is front ending, right? So let it be your marketing content, let it be from your sales perspective. Having that personal hand in hand touch today with the teams that's doing it all is way more important than anything. How are you socially present out there? How do people know about you? Like, why should they know about you also? So
That's
it
great.
once you start connecting those dots and you start seeing that this is where I'm moving towards, those will start giving you those small wins to start saying, hey, okay, let's continue. Let's move forward.
Pranav, I really like that because you know how a lot of people speak about enjoy the journey, not just
Yeah.
dream of the destination. I
Yeah.
am all for that. But I realized one very important thing, Pranav, is that different people have different definitions of enjoying the journey or the small wins, just like you say. If you were to dumb it down for me and you're speaking to a 5-year old and telling
Yeah.
them enjoy your journey, what does that really mean on a ground level?
Okay. So if you're talking to like a 5-year-old, I don't know. It all depends on he's not at that point thinking about how he's going to wait till he's 40 to drive a Lamborghini and roam the world and go and sit in Paris and sip on a glass of wine. His journey for that day is how much TV can I watch?
Yes, 100%.
So by default, yeah, that's where he's at. He's like, today I got to watch 2 hours of cartoons or TV, instead of one, and my life's doing great, and maybe just eat a pizza that night and he's sorted, right? So, that's where it all comes down to, right? Of course, everyone's aiming for that goal, right? Everyone has that goal. That goal is the main thing we're still running for. But yeah, it is such a interesting journey, like, so tell me about your journey a little more on what's been going on. I would love
Well,
to hear some good ideas as well.
well, it's quite similar in some sense. I'm in a completely different industry. I'm in a completely different domain. I'm in the educational domain, and I'm more focused onto the coaching perspective, the human capital perspective, the most complicated part, right? It's how
Absolutely.
to really level up C-suite professionals or high level executives into becoming the person they deem they want to be to match their requirements in life generally. So, a person about to hop into a new job interview to land their dream job, or a person running a presentation that they know might get them the investors that they really need
Correct.
before the money crunch comes in, right? So, it's really working into that regard and offering a premium service, or at least I hope so, to
Absolutely.
those clientele in order to make sure that they get this personalized, customized, on demand experience and not just a one size fits all training. You're a person when you jumped in right away and said, we need to hire a consultant because we just felt
Correct.
everything is going bananas, right? And that
Correct.
is a very, very, very high level of awareness, Pranav. I speak
Correct.
with so many different professionals in the full career continuum, people just starting out and people really laying off to be chairman in their own companies and just hiring a new CEO because they're just done.
Correct.
And that level of awareness that I was so happy to hear from you was when shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
you acknowledge that shit hits the fan. You don't deny it.
Absolutely.
The
You
more
don't
you
deny.
deny it, the more it bleeds. And guess what?
Correct.
You're the one losing at the end of the day. So the fact that you brought them in, and it's not something that you would live by, it's a period that you need
Absolutely.
someone with a different hat to come and look at things because the question that really honestly got me into this industry was, you know how between two different, like say for example, a married couple, a husband and a wife,
Correct.
they both love each other, no questions asked. But there's
Correct.
humongous issue happening and no one seems to back off. This person
Correct.
thinks they're correct, this person thinks that they're arrogant, and blah 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 blah, right? It keeps going. And there is a very interesting reason why when they go to a therapist or they go to a
Correct.
counselor, the person gives them some sort of guidance, not really advice, because I have a lot of reservations on that word, but they give them some sort of guidance that clears their pathway. And they are only able to do so because they're not emotionally invested in the relationship. When you're emotionally invested, baby,
Yep.
it's game over. You can't clearly
Absolutely.
see. You're always on the protective mode. This is my baby. You don't come across, something like that. But once someone's
Correct.
like completely out of the blue, and they're just looking at it from a completely different perspective, you're like, this is what's going on. That's an insecurity over there. That's some arrogance here. That's some limiting belief right over there, and so on and so forth. So, just in a nutshell, and this really brings me to this this level in our conversation where you know how we were speaking about the business and the mini goals and the small wins and
Yeah.
what have you, but I never really got to ask you, what is the major goal?
Okay. So, this is amazing. So for us to become like a major goal would be, you know, so everyone's doing it with different messages, right? So for us, I think if I can make, so this is one very weird ass dream, like, which people think of. So the place where I've made my factory right now, no, the village has about 5 lakh people. Okay. And I want to imagine this, that the village that's there around me in that village, this village is completely known for just making bags. And everybody that wants to actually just come and get jobs wants to go, and we become like the global powerhouse. So I'm getting a village which has no a not a lot of development to actually say, hey, come down, let's create something big. And we become known for manufacturing bags at a global level. I think so. While with the numbers, right? So Supasac by default, so that's the brand that we're at. Supasac, n- even in India, a lot of people will not know the name because we're just doing the B2B front of things. We just went D2C. So D2C by default is a really expensive game today, which is what I've noticed. Right? Getting to customers, brand building is a nightmare of an activity, according to me. I've understood more on saying that I can sit across a table and convince someone to buy something, but for him to do it with a split second, and he's watching reels, there's content going on his phone, and before, what was at 3 seconds, Abdul, the metadata shows today that decision making is happening at zero point 0.3 seconds. That's nonsense. How do you get onto someone's approach? Like, so for me would be like, becoming the D2C brand as well, right? So this is one part of the trade that we're learning right now. We've cracked a little bit of the code when it comes to the B2B part of business, trying to understand who our target audience is, what we're trying to do, how do you approach it in the right way. And I've got their solution, as I was talking about, right? The solution of what I'm trying to do. Um, I'm happy going down this route, but then at the end of the day, everybody wants to be that little brand that everyone talks about. So that's one of the B2C approach, which I definitely am growing simultaneously, which is when I started, like, my Instagram ads, and, you know, started building like getting available on Amazon and on my website and all of that. So,
Because I've
yeah,
seen that shift recently, where
yeah,
I never really knew Supersac till you took on that initiative where
correct,
it's on Amazon. Now I feel like now the message is shifting. You're speaking to individuals, not really business owners only,
correct.
right? This
Absolutely.
is where it really got my attention as well.
Yeah,
A very important question, Pranav. Very, very important one though. As a business owner, when do you know that the decision I'm about to take is A or B? A,
correct,
I am afraid of taking it because I might lose something that I do not I want to keep having. Or B, it's a limiting belief that it's
correct.
really just my insecurity or I need to be a little more courageous to do and so on and so forth. So basically A is just you're going to fail and it's not really something that you need to do, but you just want to be there just like you said, the brand that everybody talks about, right? It's a nice feeling to
Correct.
have, of course. But the very second letter or the very B here is the limiting belief that yeah, this is not my line of business. How do you learn how to say no?
I think that's a really difficult, place to always be in. But you come up with such opportunities daily where you have to start taking those tough calls, right? So normally, what actually works, very basic, but trust me, I say this a lot, that write a pro and con list, for every decision, and it all comes down to saying that you write a pro and con list. It gives you a certain idea, right? And then it's the decision is, for example, what I understood from your question is either you take the jump to start on a new opportunity or you don't, right? Then you come back to the ultra basic way, flip a coin. If you land on no, if you land on don't, take the decision, see how your heart feels with it. And then you know whether you're supposed to make the jump or no. Always trust your gut because it's got you so far. Even if you
Oh my
fail.
God. I love that. I love that. Whew. I did not see the last part. Like I was like, okay, is he gonna tell me flip a coin? And if it's head or tails, I just go with it. But the part where you
No.
said, look at how your heart feels.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
So it kind of gives you that push to tell you that, hey, because you're anyways sad, like if you're anyways feeling low by not taking that decision, you move for it and feel sad by at least saying, hey, I tried doing something while I had the opportunity to. So you keep jumping forward and you regret the decisions you take, but don't regret the decisions you don't take. Like,
Pranav, I got to tell you, this is going to be the tagline of our episode today. Flip a coin and see what your gut tells you. That's profound. Oh my God. That is beautiful. Pranav, another question for you. I
absolutely.
realize that a big part of what you're doing is you're holding so much pride when it comes
Yeah.
to Indian production. And that's something I really appreciate. I really like how, like, to me personally, is when you are a citizen of a country and
Correct.
you have learned the culture, you hold its passport, you're
Right.
patriotic to it. And with all
Correct.
countries, we know there are ups and downs and challenges and blah, 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 right? But once I like how part and parcel of what you branded Supasac as an Indian initiative, not just an
Correct.
Indian company. I want you to walk
Correct.
me through that and tell me more about how does it make you feel that you were successfully able to build something from Hyderabad by knowing two
Yes.
folks in Hyderabad after traveling to China and so
Correct.
on.
It makes you feel so nice, right? So by default, what happens is that when you're just trading, right? So 27 years we're still running that part of the business, but at the end of the day, that is someone else's baby that we're growing, right? And then when you actually start growing your own baby, and then you say that the whole manufacturing process of growing someone else's baby is with us, with my own babies with me. And now what we're doing is that for example, my bags, and this is the story I use when I'm selling to companies, right? So these MNCs and all of that, when they gift, like say t-shirts and all to their employees, or they even these startup companies, they might wear the t-shirt once a week, maybe twice a week. Nobody's giving them 7 t-shirts or like 5 t-shirts and say, wear just the uniform every day, right? You can't do that in corporates. But the backpack is one that they're carrying every day with them, whether when they're from the day when they wake up till when they're reaching, right? So it's the merchandising for right from, so we work with startups as well, right? So my ready stock inventory is about 35,000 units ready for startups. Even I do customization as low as one. You want one bag, we'll customize, put your logo and give it to you so that you start using it for your, and then the trust will grow up, right? That's when you start getting the larger stuff. So by default, being part of so many journeys on a daily basis is so fun and so interesting that it just makes you say, okay, what next? What next? What next? Right. And then, so right now, we don't only manufacture bags for Supersac, we manufacture for 3 other brands right now. Um, and so 3 more homegrown brands, but dealing in the corporate space. And now finally, so we're diverging into something so interesting. I'm working with this brand right now. We're still like about to launch, where they want to make bags for babies and mothers. Completely different new industry.
Wow.
Never really understood. So, like, we're doing diaper bags, we're doing school bags for kids. We're working on what parents would want to carry, what's solving actually the issues, right? So, the same analogy of what I'm using on what an employee carries on a daily basis. How do I convert that into what a parent would have to carry when, like, the father or the mother would have to carry every day when they have a new baby? Because there's the diapers, there's this. So they people like brands have just done like a diaper bag, right? But what exactly ca- is the other things which we can add, which actually creates that part of it? So it's been such a beautiful story because if you actually see my current collection right now, I'm working with 80-90% just black, right? Like just black color bags, and it's just there. And I'm like, I have 40 different types of fabrics in black. And now suddenly this lady comes into my office and we're sitting and we're discussing. And she came again through a referral from a friend of a friend. And she says, Pranav, I want anything but black, and we're working on colors. And I'm like, I'm rewiring my own brain right now while communicating with her. it's it's just such a journey, and then I'm like, this is a part which starts giving me such a new perspective in what I'm doing, right? So like we've done blacks, now I'm doing, let's say, women bags. So from the whole industry perspective, there's one such a dedicated space which is not being manufactured in India, wherever at a very large scale, is camera bags. Like there's so many photographers today looking for the right product, and I start looking at these bags and I say, they are so expensive. I don't know if you've ever gone into that industry, but a camera bag is massively expensive compared to what people are paying, because they've cracked that niche, right? They've given that specific answer to the camera, which is costing thousands of dollars to be protected with those lenses, right? So that is the next journey that I would want to go and say that, how do we start tackling with newer industries with the same product, right? So if I'm doing, like, say, what employees would carry, I've got a numbers game roaming over here. I'll do a smaller number game and start with another industry of what parents and children would want to carry, and then get into more technical industries like camera bags or toolkit bags for it's so by default, while that seems from an outside perspective as going from bag to bag, for me that's a completely different industry altogether. My market is different, the materials used will be different, the line is different, the way I have to communicate the same message to, then my branding changes at a factory level. It's crazy. It's there's so much to do in the
Wow.
same line as well. Yeah.
I see, I see. Because honestly, when you brought up the whole black color,
Yeah.
you're telling me about diapers and mummy bags and what have you. I was like, but black does not really suit that
No.
category. So, because when I've seen your products, I'm like, they're all black, 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 black. So I'm
Yeah.
like, how is that going to suit? But now that you're rewiring yourself, that's good.
Yeah.
That's challenging, and change is the ever constant, right? So,
Correct. Absolutely.
Pranav, if I were to, this is a question I like asking to business owners. What's one thing that, if you were guaranteed, will be solved forever after this podcast in your business? If you have only one ask and you can solve an issue forever right after this podcast, guaranteed,
Okay.
what would that problem be?
I think it would be my D2C solving problem of trying to figure out how a brand goes without heavy budgets to actually go and crack the code of selling online. I think if anybody can crack that code, I'm game, right? Because it's such a money draining activity today. My ROAS. So with my fan, like I would say I do have fan following, which I'm so happy about, which is the corporate employees when they're leaving the company, they take the bag back from the employee or whatever it is, right? With the laptop, they can't only take the laptop bag. So by default, the bag also goes away. So then they go onto my website and then buy the bag from there because they've used it for 3 years while working with the company. And then they say, hey, even if I go to the next one, I kind of want to use this one.
It's
But
cool.
that's even with having that, my ROAS will still like 3.0 return on ad spend, which is like, I'm saying, how do you sell online without spending money on ads? If I can crack that one problem and my online sales happens, then you build a brand without spending money on ads. That's the biggest code
That's a
anybody can
big
crack.
man's dream, right? Well, let's have a
I'm like, I'll
conversation.
solve all the supply chain issues, right, of women. I'll go start stitching bags. I like because
I know the feeling.
yeah, because
Right. So
yeah,
actually that's a very interesting answer because it's quite recurring between different business owners because it's just like a very wide space that keeps on changing and keeps on getting even more and more competitive, specifically with all the geopolitical changes happening. You know
correct.
how, like, for example, you're a person living in India, selling in India, so you're probably dealing with Indian rupees, right?
Yeah,
If I were to be in Egypt, I would probably be dealing with Egyptian pounds. The question is that always, whenever you're dealing with Meta, it's always in different currencies, and the cost per
absolutely.
click shoots over the sky. So it's not really like, oh, guys, this is not. I'm not dealing in dollars here. Like my business isn't
Yeah,
dealing in dollars, right? I
it's
feel you.
crazy.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
So wait, Pranav. So if B2C is that challenge, how do you seem to be quite confident when it comes to B2B client acquisition?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
So for us, by default right now, Abdul, so we've gotten um a decent amount of client base with my previous business, but more so over we do trade shows. We meet partners, and when we actually sit down with those partners, we get an understanding as to what they're previously buying and what we're going to do next with them, right? And I'll tell you this one code which I cracked, right? So everyone does free sampling. I've taken that 4 levels above. So
Oh,
assume I'm working with this client, right? So what I did was they want to buy, let's assume 20,000 bags a year. They don't want to give me a chance. They don't want to listen to me. But I have a meeting with them. So I would just sit down with them and I'll tell them, hey, listen, I know you're currently really happy with your previous supplier, but can I just do one small thing? I want to give you 20 bags with your logo, with any bag that you select from my catalog that you like, 20 bags free of charge. Just and give it to those 20 employees that complain the most and give me a feedback. I want to learn how I can improve my own bags. And once they start using it and their employees who actually complained about the previous bag don't give any complaint, or they come back and they give me a complaint. And when I get that complaint, then I rectify that complaint and give them another 20 bags.
wow. That's a different
So
level. So based on the complaint, you just don't take the feedback. You actually work on it and you send another batch.
I send another batch and then it goes back again. And then they again start using that and they say, oh, this is actually solving more of my problems. And then so we actually we've actually done something which is very interesting, right? So according to me, most of the companies I'm working with are IT companies, right? So predominantly any employee today, except for if he's doing some other offline activity, carries a laptop with him, right? So all my bags come with something known as an elevated laptop slot, where we just
Is
yeah.
that the thing that you swap and then it brings the laptop outside?
Ah, no, no, no. That's not the one. But the laptop's not stitched to the base of the bag. It's stitched higher. So that is a drop
Ah.
test. So I have one of my models, which is called Nova. I've put a metal frame inside that bag to make sure that the laptop's protected. I threw the backpack from the first floor and the laptop was there. It's still working. So that's crazy. That's we've worked. So
Wow.
we're
Do you have
saying,
a video? You should publish that video online. That's a very good
um,
test.
yeah, my marketing team is it's already shot, it's edited. I'll send you that offline. My marketing team is
Awesome.
waiting for next week to make sure that that video goes live. So, yeah,
Cool,
this
cool.
is
Wow, like, no, Pranav, seriously, bravo. The fact that, because I've never heard that before, where okay, the 20 stuff, the free stuff, yeah, a lot of people do that just to get a door
yeah,
open. But the fact that
correct.
you actually get the feedback and work on it
Yeah.
pragmatically and you send another batch, I'm like, now that I know the secret, Pranav, I run a company and I would like to ask for my 20 bags and I will keep
Of course.
milking you. And I go like, Pranav, I'm sorry, but that was wrong, that wasn't really nice, and I keep getting all the free bags. Wow.
But you know, Abdul, the biggest part of this, which I'll tell you, the secret underlying, which I didn't tell you before, is when I'm sending them those 20 bags, right? So basically, in these companies, the biggest challenge is getting onboarded as a vendor, right? So by
Mm.
just giving them those 20 samples, I'm already onboarded on their company as a vendor, because they have to, in even if I'm giving it at a DC, so the delivery challan, I'm in their books already. That's the code which we need to crack, of how do you get into someone's books, and seeing
Uh-huh.
that, that's the challenge.
I see, I see. So you sneakily get yourself into that book with value. And here's the thing that I really want a lot of people to learn, and you're a very good example with this. Offer so much free value that
Yeah,
your premium product becomes a no-brainer to buy. And
absolutely.
that's what you're fighting for. You're offering so much free
Absolutely.
value and you're so confident that you're offering it for free. And you're even
Yeah.
more confident that if you have any feedback, hey, guess what? I'll give that to you. It's just like, for example, Pranav, in my line of industry, the 100% money back guarantee. If
Correct.
after going through the course, after going through the learning experience and journey, if you don't like or you did not meet your expectations, your money back is guaranteed. Because
That's
what
so
sort of
cool.
money would I like to keep with myself if I find that a customer didn't really get their expectations in? Their word of mouth is going to cost me 20 further clients that I'm not aware of yet. So
Absolutely.
why build that army in the first place? That's a lesson I learned the hard way early in my career, later in my career, actually. So,
Yeah. That actually, it's really smart what you're doing. It basically eradicates the fear component, right?
uh-huh.
The fear of losing that much amount of money, whatever it may be, is completely lost out, saying that, hey, you know what, there's 100% money back guarantee. Use my product. If you don't like it, I'm always there to give it back to you. So that reduces the amount of doubts in anybody's head, and all the baggage that could go with it is already out. That's crazy.
Pranav, have you ever thought of working internationally? Or is that a stage for later?
Absolutely. So I think we're international ready. As of a month ago, we were working. We've already started discussing with a Netherlands based company on how we can actually start taking business forward and exporting. About 3 months back, we've started sampling for an Australian based company, and trying to explore from that perspective. So by default, I think with the global supply chain where people were looking at other parts of the world, I think people are looking at India right now with new trade policies coming in, right? Especially India with the European Union trade agreement, which is there, where there's not going to be any anti-dumping duty. We are in the limelight of things right now, where we do become like a powerhouse for manufacturing. So may not be only for bags or whatever. People need to start looking at India for global sourcing at a larger scheme of things. So by default, this is step one in the learning curve, right, Abdul? So pre- predominantly you have people that how did China reach where he's at today? Because of economies of scale. They've mastered what they did brilliantly, and then they just took 1 into 100x and started growing. So by default, with these new trade laws, which gives us that edge, we will automatically start attaining economies of scale, right? With terms of manufacturing capacity as a country as a whole, with the whole backward integration of everything. So by default, 2000%, yes, we are export ready. We are there for um, attaining to the international market, because we've realized that the processes of what any export order requires, we've done all the groundwork, and we're ready with that. So a 12-year baby now is already, basically going to school.
Going to uni abroad.
Going to
Right? That's
yeah.
really, really, really nice to hear. And because
Yeah.
because here's the thing, right, Pranav? So I personally am going to be a little, what do they call it? Selfish now. and I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you for advice. So you're a person now, you're the go-to person to me at least now to go to for premium bags. And I'm a big fan of bags, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's part of your identity. I feel like it's part of your convenience. And it really is something that you carry with you for a very large period of time. I'm a person who work remotely quite frequently as well. So I'm always from cafe to cafe, from country to country, and so on and so forth. So or from city to city. So it's very important for me to have it comfortable and premium looking. Because you're a business owner
Absolutely.
and you know it. You're a business owner and you know it. We live in a day and age where your iPhone speaks a lot more about you than whatever you do. Like your
Correct.
bag does, your clothes do, and blah, 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 blah. Right?
Correct.
How do I know, or what would your advice be to a person to know whether this bag that I'm buying
Yeah.
is sold as premium, it's expensive, but
Correct.
is the raw materials really that expensive or is it worth my money? What should I look out for?
Okay. So by default, so let's say I'll give it as low as two parts right now. For me, I think, as I told you, right, why do we get outside perspective? Because we've so vested interest. But I'll try looking at it from the outside buyer perspective, right, from one perspective. So there are two types of fabrics which are very common in bags, right? One is polyesters and one is nylon. Okay. If it's a polyester fabric, by default the bag has a little weight to it, right? For the higher quality one. So if you're buying a polyester fabric, make sure the bag has a little weight to it so that you feel the strength, because nylons, then the lighter ones gives you the same amount of strength. So in a polyester fabric, you do have to go slightly on higher GSMs to make sure you get that tear strength, to make sure that your bag, if there are too many components in it, right? So that is number one. But two, by default, what I've noticed is
So
a lot of
polyester
people.
is heavier than nylon.
Yes, absolutely. Polyesters are
Okay.
heavier than nylon. Yeah. So if you're buying up, so very simple. Whenever you just go onto any website and you, or wherever, if you're buying the bag and you check the composition, if it is polyester fabric, make sure the bag has a little weight to it. Like the bag feels a little heavier. Like my polyester fabric bags, they feel a little heavier than general because they just have that ruggedness in it, them, right? So, and if you're going for if your bag says nylon, then you don't have to look at the weight of the bag. Nylon fabrics by default are more premium, they're expensive, and they're lightweight at the same time, which give you the same strength. So just check for polyester or nylon. And number two, by default, I know a lot of people start looking at bags from the design perspective, which is by default there, right? It has to look good, but also look at it from the utility standpoint, right? For example, like if I would go to you, I'd be like, hey, I know you work a lot on from remote locations and you're going to cafe, but can you just brief me a little more on what all you carry every day? So once you then you go find on, you start thinking from those lines that, hey, I carry this, but maybe I want to use this for a trip. So if I'm using both at the same time, then maybe I need to keep like have a compartment that can take clothes for 2 days, maybe, and then start looking at the utility standpoint of things, because the looks might fade a little after some time, but you're like, if every time there's just one big compartment and you're hunting inside, saying that, hey, my cable is kind of lodged at the bottom, my adapter is there, that becomes more challenging. So yeah, that's about it. And the last would be, I think, so what we've done with most of our bags is everybody goes for waterproof fabrics, but my lining is waterproof as well. So we have waterproof lining on the bags where the bag has, it protects your laptop and all from the inside as well, and increases the strength of the lining.
So the lining, so just to make sure that I'm understanding this well, the lining is the sewing or is it the
No,
brand?
no,
Like,
no. Should I just get my backpack
go,
and wait? Oh
sure,
yeah.
sure.
So uh, this is one of the bags that
Ooh,
we make, right?
all
So
right.
this is my bag, which I'm currently using. So when I was talking about the lining, I was talking about, this part, right? So This is called the
Um,
lining. Now, while this becomes such an integral part of what we're doing, because this is waterproof as well. So that becomes a second layer of protection to the laptop as well. And then, so a lot of employees normally roam on bikes, right?
right.
So a few of my bags come with a rain cover at the bottom to just cover up the backpack with the rain cover, so that the water can go in from the stitch or the zip. So let's say I've kept these two compartments in the front with waterproof zips, so that if I have, like, say, my phone and all, it still stays protected.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can tell how premium this is just from the sound of the zipper. I don't know if
Yeah.
you feel me. It really makes a lot of difference because to me, that's a test. How the zipper
Absolutely.
sounds and how smooth it is gives me
Correct.
that feel that, yeah, this is worth more money than
Correct.
other bags.
Absolutely. Because that's the first thing that normally gets damaged in any bag, right? It's just the zip. It's as basic as these clips, right? These what sometimes give away first in a bag. So I've tested this by actually keeping it on the floor, on a hard floor, and banging it with a hammer, and the clip will not break. It'll just fly off from one corner to the other. So uh, this is actually a German brand called Hand with that we use their accessories, again, make in India, but we've made sure that we've got like the best accessories while they look really basic. From the zips and all as well, we use international brands and like premium manufacturers that actually give you the whole long lasting zips.
Yes, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is a very honestly, thank you for showing that. Seriously.
Of
It's
course.
beautiful because it's really good because the wording can get very technical to people. I just wanted to make sure that they understand what the lining is. I personally was not so clear,
Yeah.
but now I
Correct, correct.
know. So whenever I go buy a bag, I go like, "Show me the lining, please." They go like, "Whoa, this guy knows his stuff."
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
this is good. This is good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to tell you that Pranav now owes me one bag. I want one like that. I want one like that, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just send me a
I'm gonna
location.
make
I'll
use of
send
the
you a couple.
opportunity now. That's so cool, man. Nah, seriously, it's amazing seeing. One thing I really love about the manufacturing industry is after all is said and done, you get to see your real product in your hand, tangible. It has a completely different
Yeah.
feeling. And that's something that I
Yeah.
can sense you feel on a day-to-day basis, especially when you get some feedback from people. Unlike different
Absolutely.
industries, right? Where like you're offering maybe a software or a course, it has its own nuances, but when it comes to something tangible, it feels so good that hey, this is what I produced, you know? It's really cool. It's really cool. Pranav, I have this
Yes.
section called the rapid fire section.
All right. I'm
All right.
ready.
So the rapid fire section is a question composed of probably a couple of words, and you have the chance to answer one of which. And
Okay.
you have an explanation, go ahead for it.
Okay.
All right. So it's this
So
or
I,
that.
I'll break you off after the question. Answer yes and say why yes.
Yes,
If I have
exactly.
to. Okay.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Pranav, first question,
Yes.
scale or control?
Control, then scale. Very important to have control first and then you scale. So control, of course, because when you can control what you're doing and then you scale, it's great. Because you scale without control, big problem. So
Oh, yeah.
control, control, and then scale. Yeah.
Okay. Speed or quality?
Quality any day. Because if you keep speed without any quality, and you will not be able to sell enough, and then you'll be left with huge inventories. So quality any day. So can I break off? Is it okay?
Yeah.
And give you one small
Yes.
story.
Yes. Yes.
So my dad has this one really a friend of his who's been like massive. He's grown way beyond like a large scale, right? So he gave this guru mantra. Guru is like leader and mantra is like spell, right? So this one guru mantra which said that do whatever you want in cost cutting, but never compromise on quality. And that is something that we've stood by default, where, I've lost a good number of orders just because I did not want to reduce my price to, which indirectly meant I did not want to reduce the quality to match the price that the customer wanted. So quality any day. Yes.
Great. So it's again shows back how important values are in order not to
Yeah,
compromise something at the cost of something else. Love it. Profit or
absolutely.
impact? That's a good one.
Profit.
I like the honesty. I love it. Keep it up, man. I like how you started the conversation early on in our podcast and you said, "Oh, well, I'm not running a charity here, right?" I was like, cool. I
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, the little wins are your profits also, right? So while we are here, so on the same way, if I just talk about profit with impact, so I'm hiring women locally, right? So I'm finding talent in my own city without me having to get skilled artisans. So I'm investing in them for about 2 months. But then my artisans, which were actually coming from other parts of the country, I have to give them boarding, lodging, and food. So I'm creating my impact by empowering women and create adding to the cause, and I'm making profit on it. So find a place where you can get profit with impact. If not, go for profit first.
Yeah. It's all about perspective. So you're impacting from that perspective.
Yeah,
You're giving people a chance. You're not only just hiring them, but you're investing in them from scratch. And like that's how you said it from the first place. They have no clue what the manufacturing facility is all
absolutely.
about. And hey guys, this is the crash course. Join us.
Correct.
One lesson every founder learns too late.
It's not an easy journey. It's never going to be easy. Every founder will go through this process where they'll find like, oh, okay, I do this, I'll find this. And it is that, but you will never really analyze the challenges which nature is going to just throw at you, right? There is going to be so much of an impact where right in the middle you're expecting something, and something very small can trigger a chain reaction with something else, and you always have to learn, right? So adaptiveness, I think, is the most important skill any entrepreneur needs to learn, which is trying to adapt towards how the journey that you're on will always keep changing. The goal might be there, but the journey will keep changing. So keep adapting to what nature throws at you.
Flexibility, huh?
Flexibility. Yeah.
Flexibility, 100%. Wow. Okay, cool. Besides
Yeah.
quality, one thing you would never compromise on.
So like say finishing, and also I think customer experience, right? So trying to work towards the customer experience in terms of, let it be the buying process or the seamlessness. Let's say um delivery timeline, right? For example, like for me at the B2B space, delivery timelines are ultra key. So if you've committed to deliver something on that particular day, whether my factory has to work on 3 shifts, whether I have to stand there personally monitor to make sure it gets done, you have to get it done. Because if you're differing on delivery timelines, that's a ultra big mark on where you actually stand, and it speaks kind of bad. So delivery timeline is one that you shouldn't be differing on.
I see. Wow.
Yeah,
So it's something quite specific in your niche as well. I mean, honestly, in so many different niches as well. So it can be democratized to so many different industries.
yeah,
Punctuality and making sure that
yeah,
you live up to your promise, right? Because at the end of the day, you're selling a promise in the business.
yeah,
What you're really doing, you're selling that this is going to. I promise this will help you do better. This will help you be more convenient, and so on and so forth. So Couldn't agree
Yeah,
more personally.
because someone else, the your client maybe or whatever, has planned something to do with, will it be your product or your service for to do use it, right? So maybe he or she has an event that day where they have to distribute 100 units of those to their employees for that day. So just make sure that delivery timeline is always on time. So
Got it. One mistake that you did
uh,
early on that you wish you never did?
one mistake, I think, when you're looking at scale, then you look at it from a more holistic approach with terms of having redundancy in sales. So if you're scaling and you say, yes, I want to scale, I will get this, and something doesn't click over there, what's your redundancy in sale? How do you how do you compensate for, let's assume that I'm opening a new factory for one contract, right? And then for whatever reason that contract doesn't come up, but I've invested so many $1 million, for example, onto the new project. So you say, oh, okay, if that doesn't come up, I have my backup contingency on that. So always have contingencies for everything, let it be with raw material procurement or with sales. Having a contingency is not for an another reason that you don't want to work with the first supplier. It is always that you have a backup plan so that you're not stuck down the road for anything that's going to happen.
Right. First profit or first big client?
First big client. I'll tell you why. Because early on in I would say that, so there's a really big approach towards, how that the business always keeps taking money back, right? As long as you're growing, Abdul, I think you just want to go down that road. Your business is, while you might pay yourself, you might not pay yourself, but am I increasing my market share or whatever it is? Am I increasing my footprint? Am I increasing my big client? So having a big client keeps adding more and more, right? So maybe your first big client can actually lead you to five more big clients where you can earn more profits. So a larger goal. So big client definitely any day.
Interesting. Wow. What do you think
Yeah.
is the most overrated business advice?
Um, is that your business can run without you. There's so many of these business coaches that turn around and they say, I will help you automate your business in 8 months and then your business will run without you. You need to go to office four times, for 4 hours in a week or so, and then it gets done. So according to me, that doesn't happen. Things do slip in the pipeline once you're not hands on into it. And yeah, so I think that's a very,
I love
everyone
that.
has different,
I love no,
everyone has
honestly,
different,
I love that.
uh,
Wow.
yeah,
Mhm.
everyone has different approaches towards, whatever it is. And in fact, so I did a couple of courses where they say, okay, yeah, yeah, you do this course, your business will run without you. And while systems and processes today are definitely very much involved, one thing where they were right is a business owner by default shouldn't get involved in day-to-day activities, right? So that a business owner's job is to overlook all of what's going on and work towards the growth of the company, because nobody else is working towards the growth of your company,
Exactly.
unless you are into it. So, but yeah, a business can run without you is the advice which I'll say. It's hard work. You have to keep going for it day in, day out.
If you were to first hire, if you
Yeah.
were to hire someone, so if you have a chance now, imagine you're hiring your first hire, right?
Yeah.
Will that be sales or operations?
My first hire will be operations.
Mm,
My, for example, being that, as I was telling you, if your ops are taken care of and it's the backbone of your company, correct. So if your ops are taken care of and it's in such a seamless auto mode, then the second, third, fourth, fifth hire are only sales. Then you just keep hiring sales guys and then keep growing. But if it's your first hire has to be your backbone strong because you're the sales guy for your own company. I am nowhere shy of saying that I am the sales guy of my company. For a part, I do have five, six guys, but I still know today that when there is a technical glitch or wherever in any of their questions that come in, we do get involved on a day-to-day basis with all the sales conversations because the hand-holding process of the owner. And then once, if I'm doing sales and someone else is handling of my ops, that, hey, okay, now this product has been shortlisted by a company, I'll take this bag, put their logo, get the approvals done. That all comes under ops. You get where I'm coming from. In
Yeah.
sales, in the whole sales process, also there's so much of ops that's going on with just there. But if you can do it up till the part where the customer's convinced and then you walk out and then give it to even an ops guy to come and say, hey, take this approval, give it back to the factory, get the first prototype sample developed, show the client, take the approval, give them the production timeline, submit the invoice, get the payment. You know, the whole,
Yes, yes.
all of that goes on. That's predominantly still ops. But then if it's your first hire, if it's your second hire, then it can go 20 sales guys also because my ops is set for
100%.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. What's one lesson that you learned from firing someone?
Um, it while it does make you feel real, not it firing someone is not the best feeling ever, right? It's not going to be something that you enjoy. You look at it that someone unproductive in your company can actually bring the whole morale of the company down, right? Something as simple as when I started the new factory, we got in a factory manager, right? And he was there, and we realized that the value add wasn't so much, so we had to let the factory manager, the whole someone running the whole plant, go. And I'll tell you, it's been 3 months right now. We've not got a replacement, and my factory is running better without a factory manager. Where we
Wow.
have, so you have production manager, you have quality manager, you have stores manager, you have logistics manager. We kept one guy on top to say let's look after everything. And of course, when he's looking after all the departments, you do need someone, right? And we realize that sometimes you there is no requirement of just increasing number of levels of people before reporting. So it just kind of gives you a lot more belief into saying that, you know, you trust your teams that you've hired and overlook those teams. So there's this really big uh, entrepreneur in India called Ratan Tata. So the Tata Group, you must have heard of him. So Ratan Tata had said in one interview that, you know, how do you run so many businesses at the same time parallelly? He was doing an interview and he brought out this one very insight point where he says that I hire the best guy to do that job so that I don't have to look into that, and I just look after making sure I give him a little bit amount of work. So as long as that person knows what he's doing, then your business, that part of your business starts getting, invested into. So something that I learned in the really hard way, right, was that when you're hiring, right, so there is skill. Okay, let's say we take a y-axis, x-axis. You make a chart. So you have skill and then you have loyalty. Okay. What I've learned the hard way is that if he's highly skillable, but he's like he has a lot of very skillful guy and there's no loyalty, then that becomes a downfall for me. But if he's loyal and his skills are low, I don't mind investing in training that person so that I can actually build the skill, but you can never buy loyalty. You can never build loyalty in someone. So find loyal people.
How
So
do you find loyal people? Like, what do you look out for?
so when you're looking at the past trend of someone and see how many jobs he's jumped in the last in his working tenure, if there is something that he says that, hey, I have been working past for 6 years, I've worked in two companies. That's still okay. But in 6 years, he's doing six companies. Then why has he gone to six wrong jobs? How can six employers be wrong? That is number one. Number two, in which I always ask in all of my when I'm just interviewing to hire someone would be, you know, why are you leaving your previous company? right? And for me, that's more important than what position I want to fill with that guy, because he'll you get such varied answers. And then sometimes it is also about, saying that, hey, I did not like, if it's just something as basic as I did not like the work environment over there and all, that still makes sense. But if you get some other weird answers, then you kind of understand that, hey, this becomes very difficult while you're trying to hire someone. So even if the other company was wrong, you sometimes have to mold it in a way where they don't want to give out way too much of, because most of the time they've approached us or we've approached them because they were working with one of our competitors, and or they're working with someone from the similar industry, right? So
Right.
that becomes something to really look into.
That's great. No, that was a very interesting section here in our podcast. I love the rapid fire sub part because it really um, tackles that impromptu speaking part of you, right?
Yeah,
Answers right on top, and then any further explanations, like just the gist and the most important part of it. And that's what you've done.
correct.
So honestly, thank you for that. That's great. So Pranav, we're coming towards the end, towards our very, very, very fruitful session today together. I would like to let you have a minute or two to speak to anyone listening. I'm not
Correct.
going to put a target audience specifically.
Correct.
Whoever you feel you want to talk to, what
Correct.
would you like to share with them as a final note after all that we've been through?
So I'll start with, first, if you're talking to like founders or partners, from that perspective, is we do a lot of merchandising for corporate companies or even on like MSME owned businesses. So if you're looking at some part of merchandising for your products, do let us know. We can try helping you find the ideal solution for it. And number two, if you're students or you all are corporate employees working, then look at getting our bags, so that we are really trying to get a global perspective. And the last part, if you're looking at starting your own bag brand, then we can be your ideal partners to manufacture at our facility. And come give us a chance. Let's sit for a cup of coffee and see how it goes forward.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, honestly, after looking at the bag and looking at the man personally behind it, I know personally,
Yeah.
it's worth checking out, everybody. So don't forget to subscribe and please make sure that you follow through. If you've got any questions to Pranav, I'm quite sure he won't mind answering them. Either reach out to me or reach out to him. His alias will be in the description as well. And we're also going to be having a shout out to Supasac. We'll have their credentials in the YouTube description as well for those of you who'd like to reach out and check out their products. No affiliation link, I promise. It's really something that I'm very proud of, and I would love to support. I know the person behind it. I know the man behind it, and yeah. So that's with regards to this. So thank you all for tuning in, and peace out.